What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Rum Pure Sports NFL Week 18 preview show. We're breaking down the slate, but we're going to do it a different way this week. Week 18, or the last week of the NFL season, things are a little bit different. You really have to monitor, who's playing for something, what players might be resting, what teams might be resting their players. So the motivation. The team motivation is super important. The player motivation is super important. So we're going to go through, kind of break down all the different scenarios that could play out this week and talk about any information that we might have. I mean, this week, super important to monitor the news, the coach talk, very important. We'll get into all that. We'll break down the Milli Maker winner from last week as well. But as always, joined by my boys, Title, Mangone. I'm going to go to Mangone first. Mangone's a guy that monitors the news, the coach talk. The last week of the NFL season was built for a guy like Mangone. Mangone, how do you handle week 18, last year's week 17 of the NFL season for DFS purposes?
Yeah, these weeks are kind of fun. I mean, if you really keep up on the news, you just spend the week, take some time to just keep up on things. You can definitely grind out an edge for sure. I think trying to figure out motivation is really key. Sometimes you'll see coaches say we really want to get this guy the bonus, right? He's had a great year. Then there might be incentive. For instance, let's say Jonathan Taylor was 110 yards away from a record. Well, they might try and get him in. Now, if he's 300 yards, okay, could Jonathan Taylor rush for 300 yards? Yeah, he could. It's the Jaguars, but would I be rostering because of that? No, not as much. And of course, that could always depend on the ownership, because I think people will be talking about that in the industry. And I think it's definitely a really good week to monitor those things. And if a coach is talking about trying to get an incentive for someone to get there to gain a bonus, I definitely think you want to take a little bit of note of it. I mean, there was talks last week of Brady trying to get the ball to Mike Evans a little bit more for, a bonus. So there's definitely stuff to monitor. Also, teams that might just completely quit, that might put in a quarterback that you think, okay, now the defense we can target here because they're going to be playing the backup quarterback. Then you'll have situations too where there's a team that is motivated to play the entire game. There's some situations where and I haven't dove into it completely, we'll talk about it a little bit, but teams can scoreboard watch and take their foot off the gas pedal. And that's something to think about when kind of building out your lineup. So I think it's something definitely to look at, monitor, and take advantage of on these weeks. And so some people are going to punt this week. They're just going to completely be it's week 18, doesn't matter. If you stay dialed in, Kupp, we talked about that one NBA show. You're this slate sucks. And you know what everyone's going to do all week? Oh, this slate sucks. I don't know what to do. This slate sucks. If you dial into it, I think you'll gain a little bit of an advantage throughout the.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of risk that goes into the last week of the NFL season. But if you put in the work, stay ahead of the news, I think there's definitely edges to be had. You'll see some opponents making some really, really bad mistakes this week. Title, talk to me just about your overall mindset and how you handle things for the last week of the NFL DFS season.
Yeah, I'm glad to have Mangone on the show because, as you said, this is definitely a Mangone slate. I mean, it's perfect for him. I remember last year I got completely dusted, week 17? This is week 18. So I'm excited to rebound. There's a ton of edge in week 18, though, because, we're going to go through the games. That's the most important. But, the Packers, they have nothing to play for at all. Rodgers wants to play, of course, Devontae, stuff like that. But even if they want to play and you see they do play, there's no need to risk something like the Packers playing. Whereas other teams, now the Steelers, we're going to get to them, but the Steelers now have something to play for because if things bounce the right way and they win and other teams lose, they can get in the playoffs. You obviously want to play guys that are going to get full run that have something to play for. So it's a very fun week, I think. I think there's a huge edge in it. You can cross off teams completely. I don't think we're really going to need to play too many backups this week since enough teams are playing for something. So I'm kind of going to avoid backups, avoid teams you don't really have anything to play for. And then, we have a Saturday slate too. So no Thursday night football, 2 Saturday games, no Monday game. So we have another big Sunday slate too for the main slate. Saturday slate will obviously have all the content up. One game means nothing, Dallas Eagles. So that'll be very interesting to dive into too, but excited to talk about it. I've looked briefly. I still haven't gone through everything yet. So this is going to help myself. It's going to help you guys, I imagine, too, start getting dialed in for the week because can't just look on Sunday morning and fill out rosters. You got to actually be looking all week.
Yeah, I mean, and on the show we try to touch on some price point things and things that stand out from that perspective. This show is going to be a little bit different just because you have no idea. I mean, literally have no idea like where we're going to be. A couple plays I think are close to lock button plays. We'll talk about those guys when we go through and talk about the motivation stuff and whatnot and the incentives. Before we get into all that though, let's go through and recap the Milli Maker winner from last week. Before we do that, though, please do us that favor, hit the like button, and more importantly, hit the subscribe button. The little red button, bottom right corner of the screen, helps us a lot to keep these videos free. So hit the like, hit the subscribe. Let's take a look at the Milli Maker winning lineup last week, and 2 weeks in a row where the Bengals find themselves front and center, just absolutely go off again this week. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I mean, Chase 58.6. Obviously, you needed him on your team to win. Any run back in this lineup?
No run back.
So.
All right, no, Darrell Williams. Darrell Williams.
Darrell Williams as the running back. So Burrow to Chase, and then Darrell Williams as the run back. Darrell Williams obviously got the boost with Edwards-Helaire out. Scores 2 touchdowns. So there is the correlation. Sony Michel. Good price point on DK without once they ruled out Akers and Darrell Henderson. He's the only guy. He got all the work there. Jarrett Patterson, third running back here, 20.8. Not many people played him, 8.5% owned. And then the rest of his lineup played a very popular Braxton Berrios. I know we talked about it a lot on our shows. And, in tournaments, it seemed like he was a good fade. He gets that rushing touchdown first drive. And if you faded him, you're likely in trouble. You get Rob Gronkowski at tight end, and once AB went down, I mean, it was Rob Gronkowski's show. Brady just looking to him nonstop, and then played I think the most popular defense on the slate, the Bears. They're 3,200. They went off 250.64 fantasy points for High Dog, 1987. Took it down, and really not anything crazy in this lineup. Pretty straightforward. All guys that were in play, I think. Jarrett Patterson's the one guy that might have been off the reservation a little bit just because there was so many really strong running back plays this week, but pretty straightforward lineup. Nothing too crazy. I'll go to you first, Title. What do you see here?
Yeah, I mean, the lowest owned guy in the lineup, Jamar Chase, 4%. We talked about it, it was probably a month ago now or something, but play the guys that you think are studs every single week. I said one of my buddies, I said he played Jamar Chase every single day. He's like my Justin Jefferson for him. He faded Jamar Chase last week, though. The first time he's done all year. He was kicking himself for sure. But I mean, 4%.
How did he fade him? Like what?
It was he said he woke up 11 o'clock. He was hungover, all this, and he had him. Then he said he switched because I don't know why, what his reason was. He's still kicking himself over it though. But the lowest owned guy is he'll probably watch it. It's an Andy Hoyman guy that's in chat sometimes and stuff. But yeah, so Jamar Chase, 4%. This guy had a secondary stack as well. So he ate Braxton Berrios chalk, which I didn't do. I thought Zay Jones was a good pivot in that range. I didn't think you needed it. Michael Carter going down was a bump for Berrios as well. But then Rob Gronkowski, the secondary stack. So we ran it back. Antonio Brown was chalk. He differentiated that way. If Antonio Brown fails, obviously no one saw this coming, what happened. But if he fails, Evans would get there. Gronk would get there, something like that. People were going down at tight end mainly. So we overspent at tight end to get correlation. Thought that made a lot of sense. Darrell Williams as the run back. We talked about it a lot. He was a good play. He ate Sony Michel chalk, who I think handled every single snap except one for the Rams. He was just too cheap, made a ton of sense. Jarrett Patterson, Antonio Gibson out, McKissick out. There were still little unknowns in Washington, which is the reason why he was lower owned. And there was a lot of other good running back plays, but I think that made sense at 4,800. Bears defense, Brandon Cooks, we talked about on the show. We liked a lot. So yeah, I mean, I think the lineup makes total sense. I see he had 33 entries in the tournament, so we didn't 150 it, which is, I mean, cool to see that not a huge player won it. He had a normal stack. He had a secondary stack. He filled it around with some pretty good plays. I think it was a really good lineup.
Yeah, it was a very well-constructed lineup. You got the Burrow to Chase, which you obviously needed this week. I mean, what's that, 90 95 fantasy points between Burrow and Chase. The run back with Darrell Williams, it literally worked out perfectly for him. Great team, but I mean, really, you look at it and it's nothing too crazy. I mean, this is a team that if you played a lot of the solid plays this week, you may have come up with. I mean, obviously, Chase is the lowest owned at 4.5%, but talk about it all the time. There's certain guys at certain positions that you should play every week. Justin Jefferson should be in your line. If you're building multiple teams, you should have exposure to Justin Jefferson. You should have exposure to Jamar Chase, two of the highest upside guys, volatile at times, but super high upside. So the team made a lot of sense. It's a big win. Mangone, any additional thoughts here on this team?
Yeah, I think you guys broke it down really well. I think one of the things I've done a lot this year and like what got me on Jamar Chase was I sort by by salary. Right. And I go to receiver and I just scroll and I go, okay, like who's going to be single digits? Because when Jamar Chase goes for and he drops that bomb, right? And you have him by yourself. Well, that's great. It's better than having Justin Jefferson at 20% or Antonio Brown at 33%. It's okay, now I'm holding hands with 33% of the people that all have that same guy. And it's you can have him within your lineup, but to have I think one thing for me, because the way I build lineups, and I think Kupp, you're kind of similar. Tyler, you're probably similar too. We're really good, I think, at identifying. One of our strengths is identifying the really good plays or the chalk plays. That's something we're better at. Now, because we're better at that, we need to make sure, I think, to hyper focus on getting in that lower percentage guy. And once we can get a couple of those guys in, then we can fill it out with the cash chart and all those other options. And I think that really helps me to identify who are some of the guys that are overlooked difference makers. And then from there, I can fill out a lot of those other plays, because when I build out my lineups, if I start building with all those guys I like first, let's say you hand build it rather than using an opto. If you hand build it and put those guys in that you like, all that chalk, well, it's hard for you not to play those other plays. But the second you put in a couple of those guys, now it's easier to put in those guys and ensure that your team is unique. So from a hand building perspective, I think that's a good way to do it. And you can easily do that through SaberSim as well. And that'll kind of help you out with that, with the optimizers that we have over here at Run Pure Sports. So that's definitely something that I think I've focused on with a lot of my building and I've had some success with.
Yeah, I think you made a good point. I think I'm going to start doing that next year, implementing you sort it by salary. Everyone that you're probably watching this watches football. Maybe if you play MLB, you don't watch MLB as much, because I don't watch MLB as much as NFL and stuff like that. But we know Jamar Chase, complete stud. Just say AJ Brown 1 week is 4%. He still has Tannehill back there, stuff like that. AJ Brown can explode at any time. George Kittle 2%, just stuff like that where we know who has big ceilings. Anytime Jamar Chase is 5%, obviously hindsight's 2020. It's pretty easy to now say, oh, Jamar Chase, what a play. But we know Jamar Chase already put up over 200 yards. The guy is just a complete stud and has that ceiling. Some guys have a ceiling that can break slates. And if you see someone at 5% with a ceiling like him, I just think we start playing him getting overweight on. So I'm learning like everyone else is learning. GPPs is tough for sure, but breakdown. That's why I like looking at the Milli from the last week and stuff like that. Jamar Chase 4%. I think you get overweight every single week if that's the case.
Yeah, and I don't want to be like one of those people I can't believe this guy is X% or X% owned. But with Jamar Chase, it's actually kind of shocking that he's only 4.47% owned after what he did last week. It was last week, right, when they played the Bengals and he went off, right?
Well, no, he didn't go off.
Mainly
he didn't go off, but he was in the winner. And the team scored what?
It was Higgins 41. And Boyd. So then people just were like, "Oh, Higgins is the play again this week," and
yeah.
I can also explain why. So one, Jamar Chase was 7.6. That was an expensive price tag.
Correct. Yeah.
Two, most teams built this past week were either going to a Cooper Kupp or a Jonathan Taylor. Maybe not most, but a lot of teams were built that way. And when they're built that way, and then you start to build out the stacks. If you look at all the stacks last week that people were really interested in, if you were interested in that Kansas City Bengals stack, well, all those guys are expensive for the most part. If you do a Tyreek Hill, a Travis Kelce, that's
and most went Kansas City side too. The Mahomes are out too, which made them lower owned, I thought too.
Yeah, and if you look at the Cowboy stack, the Cowboy stacks and the Cardinal stacks, they were naturally kind of expensive. There was no real cheap guys you can get in. Now, if you did do those stacks, they were more mid-tier builds and you couldn't grab a Cooper Kupp or a Jonathan Taylor. But if you look at a lot of the stacks, like Matthew Stafford stacks, well, what do Matthew Stafford stacks have? They have Sony Michel. They have Stafford. They have They have Cooper Kupp. And then who's the bring back? Well, the bring back is Mark Andrews or Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown was 5,900, but everyone just wants to now put tight end in there. Mark Andrews has been great. But if you did a Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford and Mark Andrews stack, you ran out of money. It was all gone. You had to play you could not really play those really good running backs in that 6K range. Now, I'm not saying you need to play them, but the point I'm getting at is a lot of the stacks this week were super expensive. And that's why you couldn't get up and get all those other receivers in that 7K range. That's why they got all overlooked, because all of the stack options together as a whole were expensive. And there wasn't this cheap stack that people were just like, oh, let me play that. And you know what? When you did play a cheap quarterback, who was it? It was Trey Lance. And like, no one was stacking that up and if you did stack it up, Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, both very expensive. So overall, the thing that I noticed that got me onto the stack that I played was all the stacks are super expensive. And I want to try and find one that's a little bit lower in price tag. And I felt like playing that Bengal stack with the Darrell Williams and then combining it with like a CJ Uzoma was cheap enough where I could start getting a lot of those better plays and people had to make sacrifice. And yeah, I didn't want to play Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios at 33%. He's a good play to mix in when you have a low owned stack. And I didn't end up getting there. So that's why it's all about that full lineup construction. If I would have got there, I could have had a really great week.
Yeah, no doubt. Great breakdown there. Let's go ahead and get into the team motivation stuff, the player incentive stuff. Before we do that, like I said, hit the like, hit the subscribe, helps us a lot. If you're new to this channel, we have a partnership going with SaberSim, the SaberSim Optimizer, right on the Run Pure website. We're working with their software developers to incorporate more of our content right onto the optimizer, where you'll see our core plays, where you'll see our cash plays pegged right there on the optimizer. Those changes should be coming out within a couple weeks. So head on over to runpuresports.com and give it all a look. All right. One situation I want to address before we get into the overall thing is Cooper Kupp. And it's probably the biggest thing going into this week. He needs 12 receptions, 136 yards to break the all-time receiving record. On top of that, the Rams need to win this week to win the division, lining up to just be a massive Cooper Kupp week. With so much uncertainty going into the last week of the NFL season, this seems like a pretty damn stable, certain situation. The team needs to win. The guy is very close to breaking two pretty damn big records, having a phenomenal season. I'll go to you first, Title. Like, how do you consider even fading Cooper Kupp this week?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much haven't faded him really all year, so it makes it even easier. I don't know how you fade them. They need to win to clinch the division. It's the Cardinals-Rams. That's going to be a marquee game for fantasy in general. I do not know how you fade Cooper Kupp. Obviously, tournaments, we just saw last week. You can fade anyone in tournaments for sure. Cash games, and even like high dollar, just smaller field contests, man. Cooper Kupp's a tough fade, so I'm right there with you. I'm not gonna fade him. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's very tough.
So he's playing. You said Cardinals today. He's playing the Niners, but that's same thing. I mean,
they're playing.
It's not too different. But I wanted to clarify.
Arizona gets the division. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was looking at it wrong. Sorry.
So they need to win to hold off basically they could still win the division if they both lose. But basically,
if the Cardinals lose too, yeah.
Yeah. So if they win against the Niners, they win the division. The games are played at the same time.
What's the incentive for him, Hoop? I didn't hear you say it.
12 receptions, 136 yards. He break both the reception record and the receiving yard record.
That's a lot. I'm looking for the Schefter tweet. Can you send me it real quick, Hoop? Because I thought I found the right one and I didn't find the right one. So
yep. This was a different one actually that I was looking at. So I'll send it to you. But yeah, it's 12 receptions, 136 yards. There's a lot.
He can do that. Like he really can.
He can do it. But the one thing I will say,
3 screen passes, 130 yards. We've seen him doing a lot. Like McVay can do it.
It's a tall task, but like at the end of the day, if they are trying to win a game, right? Like whether it's like, is it get Cooper Kupp the record like late in the fourth or like win the game? Yeah, they're going to go for that. It's not like is 136
they go hand in hand. Get Cooper Kupp the ball, you win the game. They go hand in hand, don't they?
Of course, but yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I do think it's starting to get to that number where it's a little higher, right? 12 receptions. Has he had what's his max receptions he's had this year? I feel better about the yards. I'll say that.
I don't know. I'd have to look, but yeah, you could throw him 4 screen passes or just, you know what I mean? Like Rodgers and Devontae, they can find a way to get them the 12
Yeah,
if they need.
I don't think, yes, if it's
shaking out, you're not going to force it if you're in a game that's tight, right? It just always depends on, I think, the way the game is going. Also, San Francisco, I mean, if they are establishing the run really well on them, which they could, well, that could bleed some clock out, where that could hurt Cooper Kupp. Obviously, if you tell me Cooper Kupp is like, what's his ownership? Will he be 50% this week? Like, because what's going to happen as the week develops is you're going to see a lot of teams. You're gonna be like, okay, well, this team's not really playing for much, so this won't get ownership, and it might turn into where it's more of, instead of it being like a 13 game slate, it could feel more like a 6 or 7 game slate, and just more ownership could get inflated on a guy like Cooper Kupp. So
he's going to be, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he's going to be massively owned. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I don't think he's a lock to get these. Those are big numbers. I mean, 12 for 136. He's the best receiver in the NFL. There's going to be attention directed to him. The Niners need to win too. They're not just going to lay over and, give them the Rams this game and give them the record. But in a week with so much uncertainty, so many, spends that we're going to be able to cross off because they're not going to play the full game or, only going to play a half, it's the most stable option. Like cash games, it's a lot, like no secret. He's a lock button play this week. But in tournaments, you don't have to play him, but it's just it's going to be the most stable situation. You have a guy going for the all-time record and playing for a team that is going to be going all out because they need to win. So, you'll hear about it all week. I mean, this is only Tuesday. There's going to be a lot of talk surrounding around Cooper.
Devontae and Tyreek, like your Tyreek's on Saturday, you're not playing Devontae. Yeah. So those are the other two spend ups at the position that people play if you don't play Kupp usually. So he's kind of in a tier of his own, which is why he'll be so highly owned.
Yep. All right, let's shoot on over and start talking about like the individual team motivation stuff. We're going to start with the AFC. 5 of the 7 playoff spots have already been claimed. The Bengals win the division. The Chiefs win their division. Titans win their division. The Bills are in the playoffs, and the Patriots are in the playoffs. Now, the Bills or the Patriots will obviously get that 4th division title, but everything else is still up in the air. The Chiefs have a chance to get the number 1 seed. The Titans have a chance to get the number 1 seed, and the Bengals also do. But we're going to start with the Baltimore Ravens. They need to win this week, and basically what they need is a win. And they need the Chargers and the Colts to lose and the Dolphins to either lose or tie. So it's going to be a tough road for the Ravens to get in, but they do have motivation. It's a 1 p.m. Eastern game. They're going to be playing all out. In terms of DFS takeaways, Mangone, does this do anything for you? The Ravens needing to win here, but also need like 3 other things to go in their direction to get in.
Well, I mean, the Ravens are obviously going to try and win this game, but one random thing, I don't know if you said it, maybe I missed it. I was reading some of those incentives for the players. What about Ben Roethlisberger, final game of his career? Like, I mean, yes, they're definitely playing for something, but Big Ben definitely going to go out there and chuck it. I mean, if he's going to go out there and try and make the playoffs and push for it, he's going to put it in his hands. So I do think that, like, I sort of have some interest in like the Steelers stack idea. And also it's because the Ravens on the opposite side are not a good defense, one that you can definitely attack and one that you can target. So I do think, and especially with Big Ben being there and they're playing the Ravens, and the Ravens are a team that, the division rival and you know how to like pick apart matchups sometimes. I don't know. It could be a nice ending for old Big Ben. So I'm definitely considering that Steelers stack, as crazy as that thing sounds, because who on earth is going to click on Mr. Dust Bucket Big Ben after watching him against the Browns at 5.4K? So that's something I'm kind of thinking about a little bit, which I don't know. Is that like a bad take? Maybe it is, but it's last game. I mean, possibly in his career. Of course, he's going to want to try and chuck it up a little bit.
You couldn't pay me money, and then I rostered Big Ben, even with your money.
That was a tough watch last night. He had 47 passes, I believe, last night for a total like 130 yards. Like he didn't throw it further than like 5 yards.
Well, don't do it, man.
Well, the reason I like it a little bit is also, this is another reason I always like Big Ben more than others, is I love the PPR that comes with it. Like I just get Deontay just slamming in the ones. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you guys. This is a tough. You must not have watched the game last night. You didn't watch, did you?
I did not watch. But
okay, that explains it all. I suffered through the whole fucking thing, and I don't get those 3 hours of my life back.
Yeah, 3 hours. I thought you 1 hour.
Yeah, okay, hour and a half.
Yeah,
hour and a half.
Yeah.
I debated watching it, but when I was downstairs, other people were watching other things, and I said, I don't need to disrupt the movie being watched for Browns and Steelers. I said, I'm
Good
good
move on your part. That was a smart decision.
Yeah.
But now save your money, listen to us. Don't play Big Ben.
Yeah.
I don't think
a
it's
13-game slate.
But so you say it's a 13-game slate. It's not going to be a 13-game slate. It's going to.
Yeah, I do agree with that. It's going to be a smaller number. It is. I mean, there's going to be games to cross off.
He couldn't even get there in single game. Don't play him in whatever slate it is.
Well, but it's not necessarily about that. He's 5.4K while I get those other guys in there, and it's like the full. I haven't done the math on what
salaries, but salaries like not going to matter this week because there's going to be some just full punt plays that we're going to be able to just like jam in there.
That could be correct. Obviously the week has to pan out, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a narrative guy. But last game,
you're not playing. I want a max bet that you are not playing Big Ben at a high rate this week.
Yeah, I mean not at a high rate, of course, but I will say I've looked at it. Like I did like a quick look of like what's some quick salaries that strike me, and I was hoping I don't know. Like the problem is the run back. I don't think you can get something cheap enough.
Title, get us back on track here. What do you got?
Andrews at
7.5, so back to the
Brown
Ravens.
at 5.9. That's one of the issues. So probably back to
what's going on here?
I don't know. Whatever the next game is, or we talk.
You keep going in and out of mute.
All right. I'll talk about the Baltimore side because that was so. Yeah, they do have something to play for. Obviously, it's not likely they win. Harbaugh is saying there's a chance Lamar does play this week. That'd be really weird. I mean, they're still not likely to win if Lamar plays. I don't know. You can always play Lamar. He might be low owned. I just don't know how much interest we even have in this game in general for DFS because what is it? A 42? What's the total? 42 in total. Steelers are implied 18. Ravens are implied 23. I haven't played too many Ravens anyway. So while this game and the Ravens do have something to play for, it's probably still going to be a stay away personally.
The next game with some incentive stuff, which I think might not be a stay away from game for you. We'll see. The Bills, they need to win I think so. If they win, they clinch the division. So they just need to win or have the Patriots lose. They'll be going all out for 4 p.m. Eastern game. They are playing the Jets. Your boy Josh Allen should obviously have his way in this spot. Devin Singletary actually looked really good last week too. He's basically they're turning into almost like a bell cow running back. Talk to me about this Bills situation because it seems like it might be a tasty one for DFS.
Yeah, I mean, this is Josh Allen's obviously, if you watch the show all year, Josh Allen, now they're in a must-win game against one of the worst teams in the Jets. Sign me up for all the Josh Allen in the world. Diggs, same way. Hopefully he's lower owned. Who knows if he will be, but Diggs has something to play for. Gabriel Davis, Beasley. As you mentioned, Singletary, I think we were pretty early on the train too. They healthy scratched Zach Moss a couple weeks ago. They healthy scratched Burita the week after. He took over the role last week. So Bills, I'll be all over the Bills. I think Josh Allen, Singletary, receivers. As far as the Jets, I don't know. Burial. I mean, the really bad teams, they're still going to play their guys most likely. We'll know if they bench a quarterback, then avoid the whole team. But maybe a Barrios or something like that again in cash. But gotta have interest in the Bills.
So much more risk with the dead teams. Mangone, anything to add to the Bills conversation with, very incentivized obviously to win this week. They can take down the division title.
I guess the weather before Mangone, someone in chat mentioned the weather is the only concern that we're going to have to monitor because we don't know yet, but Buffalo can always be cold, but they're implied 30 right now. So
yeah. And it's always, the weather is always shitty. Is it in Buffalo? Yeah, it's in Buffalo. Yeah. So it's always crappy. Mangone, anything to add here?
Yeah, the only thing to look at here is the incentives. I don't know if you mentioned it, but Diggs needs 6 catches for 231 to hit his 100 receptions and 1,375 yards. And he adds a nice 1.55 million over the next 2 seasons at each of those following benchmarks. So
so he needs 6 for 231. So the 6 receptions clearly in the realm of possibilities. 231 yards might be a little bit difficult unless he goes full Jamar Chase on us this week.
It is the Jets, right? So the one thing to mention with it is if Diggs happens to rip an 80-yarder to start or something, then I think it becomes in play, right? If you get that really random outcome, And it could happen against the Jets, and if anyone wants to find this, like just at AMICSTA on Twitter, like he's got them all listed. So we'll shout that out. And if you want to find it for yourself and look through these, because there is some value to like looking at these things and trying to decide, hey, should I maybe get on a guy because of that?
Yeah, the other one to add from the previous game, Mark Andrews has a chance to break Kelsey's record for most receiving yards. He needs 141. So that's, in the realm of possibilities. Go ahead,
I was just gonna say, like, if it was the Diggs of last year, 231, like I think there's this. I mean, he's just been so bad. Not bad this year.
Just been spreading it around. I mean, just going, He's not the focal point that he once was. It makes it tough.
It makes it annoying for DFS with Allen because he always gets there, but he rushes 2 touchdowns and Diggs does nothing. But 6 catches, he should get that.
Yeah. All right, the next team in the AFC that has something to play for, the Bengals. Obviously, they won the division last week, but they have a chance at the number 1 seed. It would take a lot for them to get the number 1 seed. They need to win. They need Tennessee to lose. They need KC to lose. And then they need the Patriots to either lose or tie. So a lot of things would need to go right for the Bengals to get the number 1 seed, and they'll know, okay, this is at, so they'll know by Saturday, basically. So with the Chiefs playing, so if the Chiefs win, the Bengals have nothing to play for, I'm assuming. So this is a situation where we're going to have to wait and see on Saturday. So if somehow the Broncos beat the Chiefs, the Bengals will be full go. If the Chiefs beat the Broncos, which they're 10-point favorites, on Saturday, the Bengals will have nothing to play for. So it seems pretty cut and dry. Mangone, thoughts here on this one?
Yeah, which one did you say again? Sorry, I was
title. Yeah, title is he was on it. Yeah, it's very cut and dry. I mean, there's not much to add to it, really. I mean, basically, I mean, is there any DFS strategy to this one? Title?
Especially like Burrow got hurt at the end of last game. Like their backup right now and came in to take the knee. Like there's no way they play these guys if the Chiefs win on Saturday. So
that's super important. Obviously, if the Chiefs win,
we'll know. I mean, we'll know Saturday. Just got to see if the Chiefs win. Definitely off the Bengals. If the Broncos win, then the Bengals have something to play for. Next situation would be the Colts. Are the Colts in? No, the Colts are not in. So the Colts need to win. Is it win or in? Yeah, I think it's win or in. So the Colts will be playing for everything in the world this week. And luckily for them, they get a matchup with the Jaguars. So Colts would be full go. Jonathan Taylor is kind of same situation as last week. Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp are 2 plays that I think are just far superior than everyone else on this slate. Michael Pittman, I think, is still a strong play, but this should be the Jonathan Taylor show for the Colts against this just decimated Jaguars team. Title. Thoughts here on the Colts?
Fire up JT. So there's JT Kupp. We're going to have value on the slate. So, I mean, maybe like there is a backup that's actually decent that you do play to get guys like Kupp and JT because, man, raw points, they got to be above a lot of people. Obviously, Allen and stuff too. But play Pittman, play Wentz in tournaments even. Colts need to win. Fire them up.
Yeah. Mangone, anything to add?
Yeah, have you seen the JT incentive? It's a lot, but he could get it there. I think it's 266 rushing yards or something. It's a lot to get.
Oh yeah, he needs 266 to get to 2,000.
Yeah, I mean they're not going to force it, but hey, it's like kind of Diggs. Like if he breaks a big one, they'll I don't know. You saw like the Pats; they just kept pounding it down their throat even late in the game. I'm sure like they'll mix in Hines as it gets later, but if Taylor rips off like an 80-yarder, right, and let's say he's at like 150, 160 at half. They'll probably go for him. They'll try and churn it out. So, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, definitely it's going to be like last week. You like a Jonathan Taylor, you like a Cooper Kupp, and you pick one or the other. Maybe you play both and you kind of figure out. I think that's going to be definitely how the week starts out. Very similar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's going to be a ton of value, so I'm sure we'll be able to make that work if we want. We talked about the Chiefs. They're on Saturday, full go for them. They win, they have a chance at the number 1 seed, although they would need, so basically if they win, they just need the Titans to lose, and then they would be the number 1 seed. So Titans to lose or tie. Chiefs would be full go. That's on Saturday. It's not on the main slate, so you know what to do with the Chiefs. And then the next big game is going to be the Raiders Chargers winning in. Whoever wins that game gets a playoff spot. It's the Sunday night game, not on the main slate. That will be a showdown slate. I'm imagining some huge contest for that one. The next team is the Patriots. Let's see. So they have a chance to get the number 1 seed, win the division. If Buffalo loses, a ton for the Patriots to play for. They're at Miami, 4 p.m. Eastern game. It's tough with the Patriots. I mean, the running backs are obviously their strength. Damian Harris, Stevenson, I don't know, probably won't be playing many Patriots regardless. I mean, obviously they have this incentive to go out there and win, but not really going to be on the Patriots all that much this week. I'm assuming we're going to have some really strong running back plays. Any interest in the Patriots?
Same. I don't really play the Patriots regardless. Yeah. So I kind of Jacoby Myers maybe, but I'm with you.
Yep, Mangone.
They're not playing for any type of seed or anything, Hoop. Or
well, they can win the division if the Bills
play 425 too. So technically, I mean, yes,
they're going to be playing. Yeah, they're going to play.
I guess the Bills are at the 1:00 game, right? Oh, no, they're 425 as well. That's good.
4, yeah, they're 4, yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to think through if I don't know, if the Harris happened to sit, right? Like a Stevenson would absolutely just crush. So
they'll all play unless someone's hurt, but.
Yeah, I know he was questionable last week, so I don't know if it would be a maintenance thing, right? There is a chance you could see it, but it's one of those things. Obviously, if you get that news, then you make that pivot. But I'm just trying to think of how last week was, because I know he was kind of questionable, and I was watching that a little bit, and that's why I played Stevenson a little bit last week, because I was like, well, you know what I assume? They're 17-point favorites, so when you're 17-point favorites against a team, well, if you're starter is kind of banged up, maybe you don't run him into the ground this week. You kind of use your backup a little bit more, kind of like the Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon situation. When Aaron Jones is a little banged up, you expect AJ Dillon to get a little more work his way.
Yep. The last team, the Titans, we already talked about it. I mean, they have everything to play for this week. They're at Houston. So a lot of these teams that have the big incentives, they're playing pretty crappy teams. The Titans, get a road matchup with the Texans in a dome. Not a super appealing DFS team. AJ Brown maybe is a guy to consider, but overall, I mean, the Titans are not all that exciting. Any thoughts here, Title?
Yeah, actually, cash games usually ownership wise, you're right. Usually they aren't played too much, but if that's the case again, I'm going to be all over the Titans and GPPs. They have to win. They're on the road. They're in a dome. They get a bad Texans team. Foreman, if no one's playing Foreman, I'll play Foreman in tournaments. If no AJ Brown, Tannehill, even I think they're implied for 26.75 too. So while we're mainly cash games and stuff, maybe cash games we don't get to them, but I think Titans are a really good spot
in a dome too. Yeah, I mean, we always talk about that. You avoid all this crappy weather.
Implied for 26. When you see the Titans, Titans, you gotta like them in tournaments for sure, I think.
Yeah, Mangone, anything to add here around the Titans?
Titans are, I don't know, they're a team I always struggle to roster, but it always just feels like they have
different. I'm going to be all in on. I'm going to have a lot of Titans just talking about on Tuesday because no one plays them ever, like you said. It's a tough roster.
Because it does feel like it's very random, who could score at times. It does feel like they got dudes just pop up. You're like, okay, this random dude. You just look and you're like, I know I don't have that dude. I don't know who he is, but you just he scores, and you're like, okay, well that was annoying. So, definitely, it is the Texans, right? You can't ignore them. And one thing to mention too about the Texans, and this is another incentive thing the other way. Davis Mills is definitely playing a little bit for his NFL life. He would like to be able to be okay, I want to get a decent, if he looks good this week and he's looked better and better, and this game is in a dome, Davis Mills definitely will want to be making a case and getting some film for himself for the future. Of course, he's a rookie. I'm sure he's got another a 2-year contract or something, but I do think it'll help him to he's obviously not going out there and just handing the ball. If he wants to go out there and win games and put some tape out there, and he's had a good end of the year for what Davis Mills did at the start.
He's better than 10 NFL quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, Ben Roethlisberger.
Baker for sure,
Ryan. No, I mean,
I'm with you. No, I agree. I agree.
I'll go Davis Mills over Baker. Baker is.
Again, you didn't watch the game, man. It was.
But he's playing hurt, Hoop.
But who isn't playing? Everyone's playing hurt in the NFL.
No, but he's literally playing through an injury. I'm not saying he's a top 10 or 15
Mills
quarterbacks.
is decent. I think Mills is.
I'd take Mills
start
over
next
Baker.
year.
Baker sucks, man. He might not be on the team next year. Isn't
Matt
his
Ryan,
contract
Big
up?
Ben. Yeah, his contract is up, and I don't know what.
Wait, Baker's contract's up this year?
Yeah.
It's that. It's that like.
I assume the Browns
extension.
re-sign him, but if they don't, that'd be interesting to see where he ends up going. I didn't know that he was available for signing.
Maybe
Tyler
is the
always talking
XFL
about
coming back?
No, he's not that bad.
Dude, he's bad.
We'll see.
All right,
you can have Davis Mills. I mean, if the argument is Davis Mills versus Baker Mayfield, that's the argument here. I will take
Davis Mills. I actually really am. I think Davis Mills is. I really hope he gets a chance at the NFL next year. He deserves it.
The one thing that goes in Davis Mills' favor, which is interesting, it's that idea of when you have this quarterback that plays at like one of those like crappy D2 schools and he plays well, you're like, well, he's playing with crap. So what if he has something good? And Davis Mills is playing with some crap. That is for sure. It's a rough team over there. It's almost an expansion team. So
someone said in chat, Davis Mills is not better than Matt Ryan. Man, people just hold on to the name value for way too long.
Yeah, Ryan, so dusty, man.
Not...
So although he did have that, did you see his rushing touchdown?
Yeah, I did.
Back?
Yeah, I did. He taunted him. That was so funny.
Yeah, it was very entertaining.
He taunted him. So then they sent him back fourth and like at the 11 or something. Because that was funny.
Disaster for old Matt Ryan. The NFC, the playoff picture is a lot more clear. So the Packers, obviously, both you guys have to be pumped about this. The Packers, number 1 seed, get the bye, all that stuff. Nothing to play for. They got the Lions this week. I imagine at some point we'll hear that Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, all these guys are going to sit, or sometimes they do where they just play like the first half or something because it's going to be a while before they actually play. But they're not going to be full go. You definitely avoid Packers for DFS purposes this week. You have this Cowboys-Eagles game on Saturday. Neither team has anything to play for. Cowboys won the division. The Eagles are in the playoffs. They play Saturday night. No incentive whatsoever. It makes that Saturday 2-game slate pretty interesting. They're going to have a showdown slate for this one, I'm sure, as well. That will also be interesting. The most important situation here this week in the NFC is the Rams and the Cardinals. The Rams need to win this game to win the division or have the Cardinals lose. So Rams and Cardinals are the two teams that have everything to play for. The Rams, we already talked about it, facing the 49ers, who also have something to play for this week. So Rams, that Cooper Kupp situation, we kind of already covered that. Sony Michel, I'm assuming, will be in for a big workload. I can't imagine Cam Akers is coming back, and who knows what's going on with Darrell Henderson. So Rams in a good spot here. Cardinals need to win. They're facing the Seahawks. They looked obviously much better last week against the Cowboys after a few duds. I'm going to go to you first, Mangone. Talk to me about the Rams and the Cardinals, two teams that both need to win. It's 4 p.m. Eastern games, all the incentive in the world here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a good game to look at. Did you say Rams Cardinals, or which one are we on?
Well, yeah, I just kind of threw them together. Like
I got confused from when Title said.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I tweet.
It's all good.
Yeah, just to talk about these teams, they both need to win to win this division.
Well, they're both big games, just in general. It feels like. Yeah. I mean, for DFS, if you look at the totals this week, I had it up before. I think those are like two of the best totals so far, one of the better ones. And you're going to see some absolutely plummet, and you're going to see some stick. And I think this one's going to stick pretty well. This one's at 46.5 on Seattle and Arizona was the open. It's at 47.5, 48. And then the Rams won 44.5. It's sticking at that right now. And I think these are two games that you're going to want to look at. And of course, they're both dome games as well. That's something else that plays really well in the favor of those games. So I think it's definitely worth looking at these ones. Of course, if James Conner happens to miss, you're not going to ignore Chase Edmonds here in this spot. He'll definitely be a good option. We know the Cardinals, they kind of want to establish it. Like they definitely have been like leaning on doing that most of the year. And it's like, they're not going to change. It's not just going to turn into the Kyler Murray running show. It just, maybe it does for the playoffs, but I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, he had 9 rushes last week, but that is going to happen when you're doing that read pass option, of course, and when you're just running the ball all game long. But ultimately, I think that if you do get a positive script for the Cardinals and there's no James Conner, Chase Edmonds is definitely a guy that I'm going to look at a ton. I think AJ Green had a little bit of an incentive, and his career's winding down.
He needs like 54 yards for what is it?
Wow.
He needs Oh, 75 yards to get to 900 receiving. So he gets $250,000 if he gets to 900 yards receiving. He needs 75 this week.
Yeah, so I do think that AJ Green is someone to look at if you're gonna, play like him or Christian Kirk. Like every week, it's like Christian Kirk gets stacked up, and no one wants to play AJ Green because it's like late in the year and everyone just thinks he's dusty. But dude, they need him. Like if that when in the playoffs, like AJ Green could win a slate because like they might lean on him, and it seems like they're leaning on him a little bit. Like he took Diggs, and everyone talked, oh, Diggs is the best receiver in the league or cornerback in the league, and he pulled a double move on him last week and absolutely burned him. So AJ
is
Green
that a pass interference, right? Didn't he just grab him? Is that the play where he caught
the ball. I remember it was like a 40-yarder early on, but he could have done it later on too. But I remember seeing the double move, and I was like, man, like AJ Green, that was pretty nice, and it's in a dome as well. So I think that AJ Green is like an option to throw in there. Like let's say you want to ride out Penny. You think that Penny's going to be the guy that pounds it and get some really good work. A Penny and AJ Green skinny stack seems like a decent idea on this slate. I think I would definitely consider that one. It would be kind of low owned. So I think I'm going to look at some of those guys there. And if you look at the Rams, of course, we talked about Cooper Kupp a lot. We know Sean McVay, whoever the running back is there, he's going to just ride him out, and he's clearly riding out Sony Michel. So there is merit to going to him. You can make an argument for some of these Niners. Like obviously the Niners like to run the ball a lot. And if they get the good game script their way, maybe you do play a Cooper Kupp and you pair him with like an Elijah Mitchell on the opposite side. I think that's perfectly worth going to. I think if you want to, maybe you go to a, let's say you play a Sony Michel and you think they're going to be leading most of the game. Well, run it back with like a George Kittle, because when they are trailing and they need him most, George Kittle thrives and absolutely crushes. And we might have enough value where you can pay up at tight end this week and it's more viable. So it's definitely, these are good games to target. They're also at 425, where if you don't love the spot you're in because of the earlier plays that you took, you can make a pivot to something more wild. You can make a pivot to a Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett stack if you'd like to. And that feels like it's super, contrarian and off the board possibly. But hey, this could be Russell Wilson's like last time playing in Seattle. It is possible he changes locations. And I don't know, maybe Russ wants to ball out one last time and chuck the ball a little bit more just to kind of, say his farewell to the fans and have a fun game.
Yeah. So it seems like most of these important games, or the more important ones, are at 4 p.m. Eastern. So in the later time slot, obviously by design. Title, any thoughts here on these NFC teams with the incentives?
Yeah, the Rams are going to be in play. The Cardinals are going to be in play. Two teams we play a lot of weeks too, so they have something to play for. You play them. AJ Green, this is why, I didn't know this right now, and looking at the incentives, I can get behind AJ Green even needing 75 yards in a dome. And if he's 2% owned, maybe I'll get 10% in tournaments, get 5x the field, stuff like that. I definitely like that call by Mangone. Play the Cardinals, play the Rams. James Conner, if he's out, Chase Edmonds would be a lock. So I think it makes a lot of sense too.
Ron Moore is in the chat and says the ultimate dust lineup by Mangone: Big Ben to AJ Green stacks.
I can get on the AJ Green side actually.
He's actually looked good.
Yeah. So let me close out our conversation on all this with one last thing. If I told you, there's a team in the league.
I love the Mangones. If I told you, what would you do? I love these stories.
If I told you there's a team in the league that's the best team against opponents rushing yards per game on the entire season, and I think we have a decent amount of sample, right? And then that team also is the worst passing defense in the league. And they're going up against a team that throws a lot of quick dump offs that lead to yards after the catch. And they're the worst team in the league in yards after the catch at 8.2. And it's tied with, the Jets. So let's just say they were basically playing, the Steelers were playing the Jets this week. Would you be interested? Is that something you'd be interested in? Who?
You lost me after the first analogy. I couldn't. I have a short attention span. I couldn't follow.
I do too. But the Ravens.
You know where he's going, Title?
He lost me the whole time until he said, "Well, that's the Jets." And if the Steelers played everything else, he completely lost me.
Well, the Ravens are a pass funnel. You have the best team in the league against the run versus the worst team. They're literally it's a perfect storm. With especially the yards after the catch, that's what you need if the Steelers are going to hit their ceiling, they need to go up against a team that's yards after the catch. Who's the worst against yards after the catch? The Baltimore Ravens.
I just don't play Big Ben. I mean, I don't know.
I'm playing one Big Ben stack, literally just own you guys.
It better be in the monster. You better have some real money behind it, not like a $5 single entry that.
No, it won't be in the monster, but I'll put enough on it, right? Where
at least we have our opening segment for next week. The Milli maker winning lineup. I mean, we're gonna have Mangone in there with Big Ben. To who are you going? Deontay? You running it back with Mark Andrews?
I mean, possibly. I'll have to look
and AJ Green. So we got four guys right there in the winner.
I might do Freiermuth, right? I could do a Big Ben. I could do a Deontay Johnson with Freiermuth, and then I could run it with Marquise Brown, maybe Mr. Hollywood Brown. Finally, if Lamar's back too, that could obviously be big.
I never pegged you for someone that hated money, but man, that's donation.
I mean, that's fine, Title. Think what you want about it being a donation. We'll have to see.
Just put AJ Green in there. He might carry you with the 30 piece to maybe get you to mint cash.
There's one more team though we've got to talk about that's on this list. The Saints. A lot of incentive this week. If they win and the Niners lose, they clinch a playoff spot. So they have a lot of incentive. 4 p.m. Eastern. Title. Any thoughts here on the Saints?
Yeah, they get a really bad Cardinal or Falcons team in a dome too. So another dome game that matters. Alvin Kamara, maybe a little interest in him. But then again, there's Jonathan Taylor. So maybe a tournament, Alvin Kamara, something like that. But Saints aren't really a team I'd play anyway. So maybe Kamara is the pivot from Jonathan Taylor. You play both and he's 10% this week. Maybe he's the Jamar Chase or whatever. Maybe I'll play Alvin Kamara if no one plays him. But you don't want to play Taysom Hill or Callaway probably.
Yeah. Mangone, anything here?
I know it's cheaper, but I can confirm that a Taysom Hill, Marquez Callaway, and Traquan Smith or Troutman stack is more of a donation than the Big Ben one. I'm going to confirm that for sure.
I'd rather play Taysom than Big Ben for sure. Then I'd stack him with Kamara, definitely.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll have to do a little head-to-head. You can have Taysom, Kamara. You have to take a run back too. Title. You also need to pick Cordell Patterson, Russell Gage.
Let's get a three-way, and I'll throw. I got to find my dusty stack.
All right, I got Taysom, Kamara, and then all right, let's do it. We got to do a little three-way.
I got to find. Give me one of these teams. Let me see, and we'll do a three-way contest, and we'll recap it. So you have
team we can find.
You have the Saints. Mangone has the
Steelers. I feel like it needs to be a dusty team that has incentive too, right? Do you want to add that in? Can we find one?
Well, I mean, if really wanted to play the Packers and donate, he could, but he knows he's going to take some with the
It can't be that.
I'll do.
You can do the Patriots.
Give me the Patriots. All right, I'll do a Patriots stack. All right, so we'll set up the contest and we're going to recap it next week. Mangone's got the Steelers. Title's got the Saints, and I have the.
You have to play one, pair him with one person. It can be any position and at least one run back.
One run back for sure.
Okay, so it has to be. It's just it. I guess it can only
anybody can borrow. It can be tight end, running back, wide receiver.
It only has to be one. It doesn't have to be two.
Yes, you don't have to double it.
But I can do two if I'd like. Correct?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Mangone's lineup: Big Ben, Freiermuth, Chase Claypool, Deontay.
If you want to fully stack it, go for it.
Triple.
I'll be doing one. Kamara.
Oh man, this is good. Matt says just stopped in to give the best guys in the business a like. We appreciate it, Matt. Maybe this was probably not the conversation you wanted to hang out for. But,
Simon, you're listening. Simon, think of a team too and drop it in here. You can join.
Yeah, I want to own Simon. He's saying rip to me, dude. You guys don't understand how valuable PPR is. I guess. I mean, you guys are sharp people.
We know how valuable it is not to have Big Ben too when you're playing them.
Gosh, man, I can't wait. It's going to be fun. I literally feel so good about this setup. I'm super excited to build the team. I can't wait.
It's going to be fun. All right. That's going to do it. And like we said in the opening, this week's all about coach speak. It's all about, team motivation, player incentives. We covered all the main topics really for this slate. And then there'll obviously be more throughout the week. All our content will reflect the news that comes in. And from here on out, a lot of it's just going to be the coach talk. Like I know the Bucks came out and said that they're playing their guys. Can you really trust that? I don't know. So you got to monitor all the news, and the coach talk is the most important. Got the best guy in the industry, our boy Mangone, covering that. He is always up to beat on top of the coach talk, the quotes, and all that stuff. So all our content will reflect that. It will come out throughout the week. We'll be back next week to preview probably the first playoff slate. So yeah, we're going to get out of here. Good luck to everyone this week. We will see you next week.